My name's Ken Loach. I directed the film, and these are my thoughts as it passes in front of my eyes. The logos always cause us pain because they're put on right at the end of the film, and the people who put them on, for some reason, want them to be the loudest item in the whole production. So after we've done our carefully modified sound dub, some bureaucrat will stick on the logos and blast the whole dub out of the water. So apologies if the opening bit is too loud. Not our fault. This is New York in the 1920s, before and during the crash of 1929. We found the archive from many different sources, and it shows a city full of life, full of expansion, full of migrants, people coming from all over the world, finding work. And very much the same reason as people travel now to find work, to make a living, having to leave their families. And it's the same thing in 2014 as it was in the 1920s. Dancing is a central part of the film, and these images of the excitement and enthusiasm and the brilliance of people's dancing were images that we hoped would stay with the audience through the film, as well as the music. And then the crash happened. Millions of people across the world put out of work. The rich managed to stay rich, and the poor got poorer. What's new? This is in the west of Ireland. It's near Sligo, County Sligo. Most of the film takes place in County Leitrim, which is just next door. It's always been a poor area, subsistence farming, a very harsh landscape, boggy, peaty. People have had to work hard to make a living, and with large families, a lot of people have traditionally emigrated. The man on the left is Jimmy Gralton. He was a working man. He left for England, I think, when he was a young teenager. Did all the manual trades, miner, dock worker, joined the army. Wouldn't fight in India when he saw what the British were doing to the Indians. Went to the States. Did all the trades there, got an American passport when he was in the one of the American services. So he had a joint passport. And the time is when he returns to Ireland, as the captions say, when Ireland had fought for its independence from Britain. Ireland was our first colony and our last colony. It fought for its independence, achieved it in the main, but the British, trying to keep some influence there, imposed a treaty on the Irish where the British kept part of the north and kept Ireland in the British Empire for the time being. There was a civil war for and against the treaty. The British supplied weapons to the pro-treaty forces, and they won. Jimmy, who was against the treaty, had left Ireland back for America. And here he is returning 10 years later in 1932.
Well, no. Go, Dixie. Stand there.
This is Jimmy's mother, Alice, played by Aileen Henry, who's a lovely woman. We met her when we were finding people to be in it. Aileen lived in this area all her life. In fact, this was her parish when she was young.
I know. Sorry I didn't make it back for Charlie's funeral. Just been to the grave.
She was a trade union official for a time, and very strong presence, but a very warm presence. Certainly able to hold her own in the scenes that follow. And struggling under the chest is Mossy, Francis McGee, great friend of Jimmy's and supporter and comrade. This is Una, and we'll learn a lot about Una. Una's played by Simone Kirby, a terrific actress from the west of Ireland.
This bloody room. I could smell you were back.
Another couple of pals, Tommy was in the Republican Army in the flying columns, played by Michael Murphy, and Finn here, played by Shane O'Brien. Martin Lucy, an old friend who was in The Wind That Shakes the Barley. The people in the room are, again, all from nearby. Some of them knew about Jimmy Gralton. And we met so many people and had the warmth of the communities there is one of the strongest members of the film. And that's something we were very keen to make certain was in the film. Kind of warmth, solidarity, friendship, mutual support.
Go on, Marty.
10 to 1.
I have some of your Yankee dollars off your boy.
I'm going to hold you to that. Una. Una. For your children.
Oh, thank you.
For you.
Now, all the facts of Jimmy Gralton's life, the public facts are known, and those in the film, we didn't change any of that. But little is known of his private life. And to put a character on screen or put someone in a drama, then you have to have a rounded character. And it seemed consistent with what we knew of the man, that he would have had a relationship with people during his life.
How were the children?
We asked Paul Laverty, who wrote the script, asked Jimmy's family if he'd had a relationship with someone, would people have known? And they said no, certainly not. Particularly if his girlfriend had been married, as Una is. So this relationship is imagined, but we would argue very strongly that it's absolutely within the spirit of Jimmy Gralton as far as everyone knows him.
Thanks for these.
So there's been a hint of a past relationship between the two, but still bringing a present back for a married woman is quite challenging, quite dangerous. So it sets up a tension between them, a dangerous moment for Una too. We'd made a film called The Wind That Shakes the Barley a few years back, which was about the War of Independence and the Civil War. And this film is set 10 years later, so of course it does show the changes that had happened. in Ireland. At the time of the War of Independence, there were all kind of hopes for a new society, a change in the economic power structure, a more just society, a more equal society, where people felt a sense of freedom and liberation. That didn't happen, and this film shows the country that had emerged 10 years later. The film began through an old friend of Paul Laverty's, the writer, an old friend of his that Paul met in Nicaragua. The friend was Donald O'Kelly, and they were both there during the time of the Sandinistas. What happened was that the Nicaraguans overthrew a brutal dictatorship. They established a society based on common ownership, based on equality. They built hospitals and schools. They had a great literacy program, and there was a great surge of energy and optimism throughout the land. The US feared this. They destroyed it, effectively, by sponsoring a terrorist organization called the Contra. And a lot of volunteers went from around the world to support the Nicaraguans, rather as people went to volunteer in Spain to support the Republic in the 30s. Paul went as a human rights lawyer documenting the terrorist atrocities that the US and its sponsored groups did. Some years later, Donald, or just recently, Donald then told Paul the story of Jimmy Gralton. Paul told me, and it seems such an extraordinary little story, so compact and yet so revealing, that we thought we should try and make a film about it, and that's how this film began. Now, the priest here is a central character in the film, of course. He's played by Jim Norton, who's a fine actor, who we'd worked together in a film called Hidden Agenda, and Jim knows from his own experience the character of priests like Father Sheridan, and his portrayal of the priest, I think, is very, very extraordinary and very perceptive. And the clash between the church and people like Jimmy, of course, is the core conflict within the film.
Absolutely lost, Father.
Faces there, you don't recognise Jimmy, well?
Not a one.
When we were finding people to take part, we went through all the schools, most of the schools in Sligo and many in Leitrim, and could have found people many times over. Obviously, there were hundreds of youngsters we met, and they were all a pleasure to meet, and had great difficulty in narrowing the group down to a small group.
Come on, man.
Sorry to stop your fun.
The part of Mary, which is a central part in the film, is played by Aisling Franciosi, who again is a very impressive young actress from Dublin. But I hope you don't notice her Dublin voice. I don't think you do. There are lots of musicians in the film, and a friend of ours, Aideen, introduced us to musicians from across the west of Ireland, and the music tradition is very alive, as anyone who's been to the west of Ireland will know. You walk through Sligo at night, and the bars are full of people playing, music coming out of most of the pubs. It's not for the tourists, which is terrific. It's a very alive tradition.
What's all this? The Wild West?
Don't leave a word!
Well, are we under arrest?
Not yet, anyway.
Go ahead, ask him.
I don't ask him, you ask him.
The hall, Jimmy. We've all heard stories. Lots of them. Oh, yeah.
Jimmy, my brother's been telling me the stories of when he used to box in the gym.
Now, of course, the problem for Jimmy here is that he knows, maybe the audience doesn't know yet, but he knows that if he were to open the hall again, then all the forces that attacked him 10 years earlier will rally and will attack him again, because a free space with a free exchange of ideas, a centre for political engagement, and also the classes and the dance and the music, that self-empowerment is seen as very dangerous by those who want to preserve the status quo. So he knows those forces will be unleashed, and that's his reluctance, and it's a big moment for him, really.
You don't understand.
Look at all the free labour you have here. Jimmy, come on. Come on. Dancing in the side.
Come on, boy. Come on.
James, you listened to the last time.
Come on.
Think about it. Your seat there, look out.
So much for the legend of Jimmy Gralton.
You better change the name of the hall. James Connolly be turning in his grave.
The hall is named after Pádraig Pearse and James Connolly, two heroes of the 1916 Easter Uprising. They're both shot by the British. James Connolly was a great socialist and trade union leader. Pádraig Pearse was a poet and nationalist, loved the language and the culture of Ireland, and they were the twin leaders, heroes of that uprising, which of course was not old history. When the hall was built, they'd only been executed 3 or 4 years ago, and now still only, 16 years earlier had they been executed. So although they were heroes, they weren't historical figures, they were more a sense of being in the present. The title of this book is not accidental. Connolly's writings and his politics identified the cause of labour, the struggle for labour, for the working class, as being intrinsic and inseparable for the struggle for independence. Of course, as that was in many colonial struggles.
So, how long have you been working at this?
Over the past few months, whenever the lads get a bit of free time.
And the hall itself is an emblem of community solidarity. It's done by people in their spare time. It's achieved by them collectively. It's, as you'll hear, it's a democratic structure, and it's the building itself is an image of what can be achieved by people who, on the surface, have very little.
Burnt the church hall down in Gowl about a year ago, so we decided to build our own.
With what money?
I had some savings from the States and a few friends too.
So, if it's your money and your land, does that mean that it's your hall?
No. It's built by the voluntary labour of the community and it's run by an elected committee. I'll teach art, and Molly and Una will teach the music, and Mossy the boxing, gymnastics, woodwork, literature. And every penny will go back into the hall to buy materials, musical instruments, books.
And we'll have the best damn dancers in the whole country.
I just spoke to your parish priest, not best pleased. He even said that all the horses...
We meet other people here now. There's Sorka Fox, who plays Molly, who speaks to the masters and the pastors. Denise Gough, who teaches art, who was there doing the sign. Many others. In fact, it really felt like an ensemble piece, although, of course, Jimmy is the protagonist. We were very concerned that it shouldn't seem like a part with 1 or 2 leading actors and extras. In fact, that's a word we ban. Everyone is a person, is someone of significance, however small they might appear to be by screen time, but nevertheless everyone is a person in their own right.
Come in, Father. You're welcome.
Gralton, you come out.
It's Mr. Gralton to you, Sheridan.
Who in the hell do you think you are? Running classes in my parish without my permission.
No permission required. That's the point. We built it ourselves.
Education is the exclusive reserve of holy...
The church had been very strongly identified with those who approved the treaty in the Civil War, and the church was given a very prominent place by the new Irish Free State, and that alliance was to dominate Ireland for decades. The church threatened to excommunicate everyone who opposed the treaty, all those who fought in the Civil War to not to partition Ireland, for example. The church threatened to excommunicate. A few years after this, in 1932, a few years later, the Catholic Church sent young men to fight for the fascist Franco in Spain. So they absolutely identified themselves with the landowners, with the bourgeois class, and they provided a religious justification for that class society.
This court has reached a unanimous decision. The tenant, Rory McManus, is entitled to the recovery of the land in dispute. And the cattle belonging to James Clark will be removed immediately.
And this, of course, is a flashback to the 1920s, where the land is to be reclaimed for a tenant farmer.
The Holy Trinity, bastards. Now, you take it easy, right? It's not the tans we're fighting now. It's fucking worse.
Open up, Clark. Here's your cattle back. Keep them off your neighbour's land.
Gralton, you pay attention to me. You sow nothing but conflict.
The man in the middle is going to play a big part in the film. O'Keefe, played by Brian O'Byrne, a very well-known actor, and strong actor. Big Celtic supporter as well. But he represents or was part of the Irish, those who fought the British, but then identified absolutely with the Free State, became part of the Free State Army.
Within the area of South Leitrim have commandeered and taken forcible possession of lands to which they are not entitled.
Yeah, back in 1619.
Silence! 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 We do hereby order that anyone found commandeering or interfering with lands to which such a person has no claim shall be severely dealt.
Are you threatening us, O'Keefe, you bastard?
Yeah. We intend to implement the decision of the Republican Court.
Yes.
Now stand aside.
So the Republican courts were like a dual authority that grew up during the War of Independence, and the Republican movement split. Those who supported the new Free State with the approval of the British and those who opposed it. O'Keefe went with the Free State and used the utmost brutality against those in opposition.
Open that gate.
Mossy. Come down. Mossy.
Guns away.
The guns away?
Yes.
Yeah.
Bring the cows in.
Bring them through.
Stand aside, Darcy. Stand aside. Go on. Stand over. Stand aside. Stand aside.
The still photographer that we've worked with for many years is Josh Barrett, and he takes lovely pictures, observational, not posed, very much in what we hope is the spirit of the filmmaking, which is observing and not posing people. And Josh's photographs capture that, and in the books that emerge from the film, his pictures capture both, I hope, the mood of the film, but more importantly, the mood of the times.
Not complain,
It's good day to morning slum.
There's a little surprise coming up that the people in the film, when we were filming it, didn't know was going to happen. I think you might just catch it in the expression in their faces.
He's under arrest! What for? There'll be no more anarchy in Leitrim. No more of your kangaroo courts. There he is. Go over.
So Jimmy has to escape, or he's forced to escape by Mossy and Tommy and Desi, and thus begins his 10 years in the States that he's returning from at the beginning of the film.
What are you gonna do?
I'll head to the States. That looks a sore one. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's nothing. It was worth it to see the expression on his face, the bastard.
Will you say goodbye to Mum for me? They're watching the farm.
How long are you gone for, Jimmy?
Until things calm down. There's a few pistol boys keen to make a name for themselves. I've a few good comrades over in New York that'll help me find work. Mossy's waiting for me. What if I asked you to come with me, Una?
What if my mother wasn't fading? What if I wasn't the only daughter? What if my dad wouldn't fall apart? What if I wasn't so trapped, Jimmy?
What if, Una?
And follow you around from one battle to the next. Can I take that? Are these the only clothes you have?
I hear they sell clothes in New York.
I suppose so. Jim.
You'll be in my heart, girl. No matter what. Till the day I die.
Well, Jimmy.
I guess the word went round that Jimmy had gone back into the hall, and some of his friends come round knowing that a bit of pressure and they'll have the hall back again. Something about people who are political to the marrow of their bones, in that they're drawn back to the struggle, whatever it is, and it's compulsive and it determines their lives, really. And Jimmy is one such.
Now, it's a beaut, huh?
What was special about Jimmy Gralton, that he pursued the class struggle with the gramophone, and the left has a reputation for making dour speeches and holding interminable meetings and passing resolutions that never go anywhere. And Jimmy's weapon was a gramophone and jazz and vitality and enjoyment, and saw that as absolutely part of, not only part of who we are, but a way of saying to people, look, you don't have to accept that the trapped circumstances of a narrow life. You can expand into culture, you can expand into learning, you can just expand into fun.
Grand musicians. The only place in the United States where black and white dance together in peace.
Really?
Marvellous.
Did you ever dance with a black woman, Jimmy?
You know what the most amazing thing about it was? They have 2 legs, like everyone else.
Go on there, Jimmy. Show us a few steps.
Honestly.
Please, Jimmy.
All right.
You have to remember that Jimmy is not Fred Astaire. He's a working man, really, who picked up a few steps in the dance halls in New York. And Barry worked with Chantel, dancer and choreographer, and Simone, and they picked up the steps. But he's just a working man, really, having a go. Barry who plays Jimmy, I think, is an extraordinary actor. We looked for a long time because Jimmy Gralton has many sides to his personality. I mean, there's his history of labouring, of work. There's his politics. There's his charismatic enjoyment and able to lead, to get people to do things that they would think was beyond them. So there's many sides to him, and we found actors who could do some aspects of the character very well, but maybe not the other sides. And Barry was the man who brought them all together, and he was, like everyone in the film, he was delightful to work with.
Right again.
To the hazel wood because a fire was in my head, and cut and peeled a hazel wand and hooked a berry to a thread. And when white moths were on the wing and moth-like stars were flickering out, I dropped the berry in a stream and caught a little silver trout. When I had laid it on the floor, I went to blow the fire.
The landscape, of course, is stunning, and is very much part of the film, part of the people's story, part of what has made them.
Who called me by my name and ran and faded through the brightening air.
Yates is a local, well, was not limited by it, but was born, was from Sligo, and obviously a major figure in Irish literature.
The silver apples of the moon, the golden apples of the sun.
Beautiful, Roisin.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
It was beautiful, darling. You made it sound so real.
Next week, we'll talk about what influenced Yates. Irish folklore, Greek myth, and even Maud Gonne's continuous...
This is Carl Geary, plays Sean. He's a teacher, and in the film he's one of the more politically conscious, more formally educated characters, and he would have an intellectual reason as well as a kind of class reason for supporting Jimmy.
Here we are. How are you getting on?
Yeah, grand. I was just trying to get like the overall shape here.
Okay, loosen everything up and see what happens. But great work.
Thank you.
That's lovely. How are you getting on, Rory?
Good, yeah.
Great, I'd say.
Good. Keep that head moving, Shane. Good man. Good man.
Keep that gear up, Ronan. Cross now, cross. And guard up, cross. All right, Shane, take a wee break there now. Take a rest now. Come on now. Go on in, Tiger.
Don't forget your guard.
He went on the attack to this young lad.
Good, Tiger.
Good man.
Good lad.
And now, hold on. You're all over the place here now. Come on. Get a straight shot, straight. Stand back a little bit. Go on now. Go on.
Good man.
Is that the best you got?
Straight.
Ah, that's no. Come on, you can't feel it. Oh,
that's it for picking up
fucking jump shot.
The Pierce Connolly Hall opens again.
I see they've a dance this weekend. Maybe we should pop along, huh?
Yeah. Advertised in a communist newspaper. Look at that. Classes of every sort. Defiance.
The character of the two priests was something that was very important, and I think Paul wrote some two very important characters here. The priests of the time were, when you read the history, were very crude. They were encouraged violent attacks on Jimmy Gralton, and just gave hell and damnation sermons from the pulpit. And if you read them, they were really quite two-dimensional. And Paul thought, and I agreed with him, that far more interesting to have a more formidable opponent for Jimmy. So Father Sheridan in the film is more a man of the world. I mean, he understands the commitment that Jimmy makes. He understands there's nothing remotely corrupt about him. He's inspired by high ideals. And he refers to the early trade union organisers in the States who, again, would go from place to place, organise workers, to get better wages, to defend their jobs, to make their work safer. Selfless, idealistic, committed, and as he says there, the church is maybe too comfortable now, but they need that passion and that idealism that Jimmy has. But Jimmy represents a set of ideas that would the antithesis of the church. Jimmy represents a kind of Marxist socialism, uncontaminated for many at that time by what we now know of Stalin and what has happened in Russia. But Jimmy fights for brotherhood, for equality, for mutual support, for social justice, and those are two conflicting sets of ideas. One is not religious, one is. And so although Father Sheridan might respect him, he has to destroy him. Father Seamus, on the other hand, is younger. He's worked in the slums, possibly in the cities. So he would deal with Jimmy Gralton in a different way, and we'll come to that later.
Jimmy, time flies. Some things haven't changed.
This is a tricky moment for Jimmy because these are the kids that he might have had.
Maybe a little bit.
Just a little bit?
And thanks for the presents.
Oh, did you like it?
Yeah.
Lovely. And you played with them?
Yeah.
That's the main thing.
Oh, these two men.
Well, these two.
Yeah, that's my
Fiona Gallagher. Yes, I know you.
Amy Gilligan.
Amy Gilligan, right. Just a moment about time. Where have you come from?
Up the road, Father.
Up the road where?
Up the road around the bend.
And what bend would that be, young man?
That's a fierce bendy road, Father. What bend was it, lads?
Up there, Father.
That's David O'Reilly at the front, one of the many youngsters who we found for the film, who helped us in it, and who were a great strength. They always turned up cheerful, always with a smile, whether it was raining or, as it was this evening, we did this, where we were besieged by mosquitoes and biting insects, and poor Jim got well bitten, I remember, as did I. This is Stella McGirl, age 5, and her mum and dad. They came from a little town nearby, Ballinamore, and she was, her wisdom belied her years. She was a very, or is a very bright little girl, and stole everyone's hearts, and always seemed to be doing the right thing whenever the camera was on her. this is the payoff for Jimmy and old Mossy and all the others. There's the whole working, everyone having a great time, great music, and no one telling them what to do. And that's the achievement, that's the high point of their achievement. Some brilliant dancers we found. Ordinary lads, but amazing dancers. These came from quite a way away. And in their dance, you can see how it might have influenced the tap dancing in the States that came back to us. This is Jason, who's a teacher at a local school, great dancer again, and like so many, he exudes warmth and friendship. And these were the Jimmy Higgins All-Stars brought together by Aideen and by George Fenton, who wrote the incidental music for the film. And George met the musicians from nearby and put together a jazz band. And we owed a lot to Eddie Lowe from the Sligo Jazz Festival and met people through him. And everybody had a great time that night.
Craze for pleasure, this fascination with the material.
Taking the names of people who went into the hall was done by the priests, and the sermons, of course, were delivered as Father Sheridan is now. But I think Father Sheridan's sermon is more subtle than most that were given, because some of his arguments people would agree with. Like the attack on Irish culture by the British over the generations, notably Cromwell, of course. And those who fought for independence would be susceptible to that argument, because they, as part of the fight for independence, they had defended the culture, the language, the music.
Oh, how they must turn in their graves to see our youth debase themselves in Jimmy Gralton's hall.
There was a notable anti-jazz campaign at the time. It was seen as the devil's music, and the campaign against it was very strong and had gained a lot of momentum. I mean, there were always been campaigns against popular music, whether it was rock and roll or punk.
Jazz music, rhythms from darkest Africa that inflame the passions, pelvic thrusts and salacious body grappling instead of the elegance and beauty of our own Irish dances. Then, of course, we have company keeping under the stars at night, joy riding until dawn, with unsuitables, on the prowl from distant parts in their motor cars. Occasions of sin multiplied beyond our imagination. But there is something even more evil hatching in that hall. Gralton and his crew are communists. They are atheists. They deny the existence of God, the Trinity, and the virgin birth. So our community faces a choice. Is it Christ or is it Gralton? The church has a right and even a duty to protect the vulnerable. So what I do now, I do in the spirit of God's love. I will now read out the names of those people who attended Gralton's Hall last night. And other priests in other parishes will be doing the same. And here are the names. Amy Gilligan.
The consequences of being named by the priest would be very great. I mean, there would be a sense of shame. Other people might feel compelled to shun the person who was being shamed. It might have consequences for people's work, for their livelihoods. The priest had a huge amount of power, which is very difficult for us to imagine now.
Kieran Brennan. Owen O'Neill. Sarah Conlon.
And as a leading member of the community, O'Keefe is humiliated by his daughter, not only being named and shamed, but giggling during the service. And he punishes her in a way that was not unusual at the time. In fact, as you'll hear later, it was sanctioned by the church, by the Bishop of Galway himself, who had spoken about laying the lash upon the backs of disobedient children, young people, whether they were boys or girls.
Get in now. Take off your jacket. Take off your jacket. Take off your jacket. Stay away from Gralton's Hall, you hear me? You hear me? Stay away from Gralton's Hall! Stay away from... Stay away! You want some more? Do ya? You want some more? Do ya? Promise me! Stay away from it! Promise me that! Stay away from it! You want some more? Do ya?
You had time to think long and hard in prison, Mossy. You don't want to end up on the wrong side of history again, huh? An embittered old man with not a penny to your name. You've so much to live for. You've got a lovely spouse, isn't that right, Angela? And I could get you a job for life in the council. What your children...
And Sheridan is a very, very clever operator. On the one hand, he'll sanction brutality, and on the other, he'll come in with quite smooth, apparently sympathetic reasons. He would pride himself on having the common touch. Must have drunk a lot of tea as he went round.
Oh, isn't she a dose?
Beautiful little girl.
Yeah, just like her mammy.
Thank you, Father.
You must miss her terribly.
Very, very much.
Oh, we have the Redemptorist Fathers coming to the parish for a mission. What if I was to bring around a doctor of divinity into your house, huh? To explain to you where Gralton is leading you astray?
But what if I was to bring a doctor of economics round to your house, Father, and explain to you where you're going astray?
Loyalty is a noble thing, but misplaced loyalty for a man with children is a tragedy.
So the priest's in a difficult position. Even if he were not so harsh himself in his judgment of Jimmy, his position in the church meant that he would have to try to destroy him, because the whole hierarchy of the church would expect it. It's like a member of an organisation has to operate according to the demands of that organisation, and he would be being scrutinised by the bishops and by the other priests to see how he responded to the challenge of having Jimmy Gralton in his parish. So he's no choice, but he's very adept at marshalling his forces against Jimmy.
Mary, 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 what happened to you? Come here, sit down.
Have a seat.
Mary, what's the matter?
Lay the lash upon their backs. That's what the bishop always said. They'd make the blood boil, these hooligans with a cross in their hand.
Closing in like hounds. There's talks of bringing in the Redemptorists to preach fire and thunder for a week.
Father Sheridan came to the shop. He said he'd organise a boycott.
What? It's your livelihood.
He could ruin us.
What did Brendan say?
He doesn't want me coming here anymore. I'm so sorry, but I can't teach the classes anymore. I'm sorry.
It's after been in the houses of most of the lads we know. It's starting to happen in other parishes.
These are absolutely the threats that were made at the time against the people who built the hall and supported it and made it work.
The Dohertys of this world and the other. At a safe, deniable distance, you know, at each other's throats, but only united by a mutual hatred of us.
We've still got lots of support out there. People are stopping me all the time. And listen,
the axis that opposed Jimmy, and what made it so powerful was that it was religion and the wealthy, the landowners, and there was economic power allied to religious authority, and their mutual support made them formidable opponents at a time when belief in religion was very strong.
And his fellow priests, bishops, and the entire Catholic community are all watching him, so there's pressure on him too. So we have to get him off our backs without him losing face before his supporters.
What if we ask the Reverend Father to be on our board of trustees? We can't be antichrists then. We've always said everyone's welcome.
And Una's got quite a sharp political mind, because that's a way of putting him on the back foot to ask him to be a part of it. It's quite a sharp political idea.
Beaten because of them, and she shows up here the next day.
We have to be very careful. Those people don't just join. They come to take over.
The dog is one leg short of the set, as some may notice. Unfortunately, he didn't move around too much.
Holy Moses.
No, it's only me.
What do you want?
I've come to get my devil's horns put on. Is Father Sheridan in?
That's one of the few lines we know Jimmy Gralton did actually say. At least it passed down in local folklore that when he went to see the priest, he said he'd come to have his devil's horns put on.
Well, as you're here, you might as well come in.
We want to invite you to join our board of trustees who run the hall. I'm hopeful that once you come along and see what we're doing with your own eyes, we can put all this behind us.
So I am to be the odd man out among your hand-picked comrades. And no doubt when it comes to choosing reading material, there'll be a vote.
Can you not at least...
No, it's a gracious offer, Mr. Gralton. At a time when a quarter of the country is planning to travel to Dublin for the Eucharistic Congress, and the other 75% will be tuning into the radio from Athlone. A country supremely united in faith and love and respect for Christ's representative on earth. Have a look at that painting. Democratic Irish state, true to its traditions, in harmony with its people and under the guidance of the one true universal apostolic church. That is the natural way. Now sit down.
This, in some ways, was a critical year or so in Irish politics because the anti-treaty party, led by Eamon de Valera, finally came into power, and it was viewed by great suspicion with some. The church had to be assured that he was a safe pair of hands. He was safe, and those on the left thought that some of them thought that there would be possibilities for a real change, a more socially just society. But of course, those hopes were quickly dashed. In fact, de Valera and his party did everything they could to reassure those with economic power and the church that they would change nothing. And key to that was the visit by the Pope's representative to Ireland. And it was very important for de Valera to be seen supporting the church, being a pillar on which the church, support for the church, and to reassure them that there would be no change. Rather like Tony Blair and New Labour went around business and Murdoch to reassure them that there would be no change in political power when New Labour won the election, kind of reassuring those the high and mighty that they were safe. That's what de Valera did. And the visit by this high person in the Catholic Church was a symbol of de Valera's determination to be seen as more Catholic than anyone.
Come along, meet us, talk to us, question us, but work with us. There's enough misery in the world already.
Oh, you are a believer, Jimmy. Yes, you are. And part of me holds you in very high esteem. So yes, I will come along and listen to you and your trustees once you have brought me the title deeds to the hall and have them transferred over to Holy Mother Church.
I take it back, Father. You do listen, but only when we're on our knees.
I think it's a great line that Paul wrote, because it says people on their knees, whether on their knees economically or on their knees in church.
A flight of Free State airplanes flying in the form of a cross.
This is, of course, the real footage of that was shown at the time in cinemas of the papal legate. Here he is in all his glory. And what's interesting is that the voice put on the film is an English voice, presumably to give it authority. There's Eamon de Valera, the one that looks like a parrot. And it's rather like sometimes in British films, they put an American voice on the trailer to convince people that it's a genuine film. And there it's this kind of absurd, posh English voice to convince people, as the voice of the ex-colonial power, to convince people that it was okay. And there these would-be revolutionaries from the new government all bending their knee. Now the group that's going to attack Jimmy here are the group that became the Blue Shirts in Ireland. They became the would-be fascist party, as we had the Black Shirts and Mosley in Britain. these were their equivalent in Ireland. Of course, fascism was on the march in Germany and in Italy, where it began, and it burst out all over Europe.
Sweeney, we've watched your propaganda, now go home. And here he is. Holy faith, we will be true to thee till day. Thank you. We will be true to thee till day. Yeah, go on. Get out. Get back to your Yankee friend, you red bastard.
Whoa there, Dixie. Whoa.
Good man, Mossy.
Mossy, I've left my bike at the hall, so I'll make my own way home.
The relationship between Una and Jimmy was a difficult one to balance in the film because we didn't want it to overwhelm the key elements in the story, and yet the importance of it is that it shows the price political people pay for a lifelong commitment to struggle, to engaging in struggle. And yet Jimmy gives up the possibility of a family life, of a long-term relationship. And I think we thought it was true to the man.
Keep your back turned.
What?
This scene that Paul wrote was an extraordinary moment to film, really.
I hope you're not looking.
I wouldn't dare.
You can look now.
Robbie Ryan, the cameraman, I think lit the whole film beautifully. It is natural light, almost all natural light.
It's perfectly.
Just supplemented, and but he has a very fine eye, I think, for light and for composition, and I think it's seen to its best in this scene.
take my breath away.
I think my heart is going to break.
We hoped it would be a scene of great intimacy, and yet they don't kiss even. And this is now an appeal by some in the nearby branch of the IRA for support. And Donal O'Kelly, there's Donal, who
he's in a dire situation.
From whom the original idea came, takes part in this scene. And so he's the friend of Paul's from Nicaragua, from whom the idea first came. Donal's an actor and a writer. He was he put on a show about Jimmy Gralton to support asylum seekers who are treated very badly in Ireland as they are in Britain and many other countries. And Donal's a man of great principle and talent, and it was some satisfaction to Paul. I know that a friendship that began in Nicaragua at a time of a struggle against US imperialism, a struggle for the interests and the rights of ordinary people, should again, many years later, result in a collaboration where, again, we tried, however, haltingly to tell a story of people looking for a more just society. So there was a symmetry to that.
Something's going to have to be done about it.
And this scene is really critical to the film. It's the hinge for the story, because it's a dilemma that most radical groups, progressive groups, left groups, whatever, are faced with. Trade unions. You're in a struggle. How far do you go defending the core principle of that if it means risking anything you've achieved so far? If it's in a trade union struggle, people might have been on strike or taking action for some weeks. There's an offer on the table. It's not everything they want, but it's a little bit of it. Do you press on for the full demand, or do you stop and settle for what's on offer? And it's similar here. If they don't support this family that have been evicted, do they betray their principles and become of just a decorative item for dance? Or by defending or supporting the family that's been evicted, do they risk having the hall shut down altogether? It's an absolute dilemma. There's no right answer. Who's to know? It's a matter of careful judgment. We don't see the argument to its conclusion here, but Jimmy's, from what we know of Jimmy, he would have stood by his principles and acted, and in fact that's what happened in real life. The people from the hall did go to support the family, as you'll see, but they must have taken the decision knowing the consequences it was likely to have. But it very much like the uprising in 1916, James Connolly said that they would be going to their deaths, but nevertheless it was a stand that had to be taken, and it prepared the way, some would say, for the War of Independence that followed, which led to the creation of the Irish Free State. So maybe sometimes people have to take a stand knowing that the sacrifice is a possibility. You can't help but, I mean, we're doing this now in July 2014. The Israelis are besieging Gaza and killing many. The Gazans have the possibility of a ceasefire, but knowing that they will have to go back to a siege and a blockade if they stop now. So it's a terrible dilemma, a terrible choice. No people are being killed in this film, but in that situation they are murdered by the Israelis. So the essence of this dilemma recurs over and over again.
Everything we had. It's not just a building. It's what we are. It's everything. And we have to protect it, not just for ourselves, but for the youngsters coming after. And I know from bitter experience that if you bite off more than you can chew, you'll feckin' choke.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm sorry, lads, but that's my fear too.
It's time for caution. My heart goes out to that woman in the cart.
Of course.
They're too strong at the moment. They're too wild. We have to bide our time.
I agree. I don't think Jimmy should talk. He shouldn't speak this time.
Yeah, for Christ's sake, though, they're coming after us anyway. I mean, there's no denying that. I say we support this family.
Stand together.
Una, you've hardly said a word.
We have a scene, we shot a scene after that meeting and before this scene, which I think will be on the DVD, as one of the scenes that was shot and then cut out. And it's a scene between Una and Jimmy, where they both know that, or they have a strong feeling that if they defend the family, that'll be the end. And it's a poignant moment for them both. And Una has the sense that Jimmy can't stand by and see the family put out on the streets, that he would want to lead the people at the hall to put the family back in their house. But Una knows that that'll be the end, really. We left it out because, although I think they play beautifully, that is implicit in that last shot of Una in the hall. And you always want to err on the side of understating rather than overstating.
You need a new pair of boots.
And I think here Jimmy's mother just doesn't want to, she doesn't want to consider the fact that Jimmy might leave again. Now, I want to say something about the work of Eamon Nimaldani, who did all the costumes, and her team. I mean, the great challenge was to find clothes of the time that wouldn't make the people in it look like actors in fancy dress, because I think that too often is the case. And Emma found clothes that were like the colour of the landscape itself, and was at great pains to make them lived in, to make them worn, to make them indicative of rural poverty, because the times were desperately poor. But of course at the time people would tend to wear suits, and the trousers might have the Sunday trousers might have a crease down, so they tend to look smarter than people do now. But nevertheless, the clothes were old and poor and worn and very shabby, and finding that balance was very difficult. And Emma and her team were terrific. And Emma herself is a woman of great talent, as are the people who did the hair and the makeup, and Linda and all her folks, as indeed was the art direction, which again is something I haven't mentioned. The art direction, if it works, has to be, again, everything has to look as though it's always been there. It's absolutely implicit in the landscape. And this is a great skill of the designer Fergus Clegg. His work, I think, has a sense of rightness about it, so that it's something you don't even notice. And that sense of discretion about his work, I think, is brilliant. But we're an old established team, which is very, very fortunate position for a director to be in, to have such long-term colleagues and friends.
Come on, put the rest of the stuff back into this house, come on.
And again, you can see, if you're aware of the colours there, that Emma is very clever in like some of the characters right at the end of the film, when Marie is amongst a group of kids, and Marie is the one you notice, and Emma just gives her a colour which is just slightly different to the others. You're not aware of it, but it means that you notice her. This speech that Jimmy does here, again, we know he made speeches like this and this is very, again, representative of his politics. I think Paul and I are both very wary of people making speeches in films, but there comes a point where the ideas can only be expressed in words, that images can give you a generalized sense of the balance of forces within a scene and the poor against the rich and so on, but they can't articulate political ideas or an understanding of the situation. That's why ideas are important. And in the scene that preceded this, the long discussion scene, I think those are the kinds of scenes that critics will often be very dismissive of and accuse you of being didactic. But actually, the ability to articulate ideas is, if anybody has been involved in a trade union or any political grouping, you meet these characters all the time, these people, and they're very impressive and they're very clear and they can express ideas very clearly. And it's very appropriate that they're characters in a film. Working class characters tend to be lumpen, they tend to be the victims, they tend to be the gangsters, they tend to be just people who can't make sense of the world they're in. The reality is that political struggles are led by people, working class people, who can make sense of the situation they're in, who draw from their experience, who are clear, who are articulate, who are eloquent. And I think it's very important that we have characters like that in fiction, whether films, theatre or novels or plays or whatever. Characters like Jimmy are absolutely the characters who should be in drama and films.
And not just to survive like a dog, but to live and to celebrate, and to dance, to sing as free human beings. Now on you go, into your home.
Someone else I haven't mentioned is Carleen Crawford, who's found all these brilliant people that we were able to work with. And Carleen and I have worked together again for a long time. And Carleen has an absolute eye for truth and for authenticity in people and for people who an audience will engage with. And we worked together for months before we started to even prepare the film, finding people who would bring this story alive. And again, it's easier to overlook the work of all the different people who make up the people who make the film.
Is everyone all right? Now you're going to have to watch your back. Now it started, Jimmy. Cowardly bastards. Is that a truck driving off here, Dad?
Other people who, again, are critical, great stalwarts, David Gilchrist and Michael Queen, the first and second assistant directors. Nothing would happen. They know everything. Nothing happens without them. Great comrades and people have made things happen. The scene we've just seen, I've got a bit out of sync here. The scene we've just seen, again, was a surprise for those involved. They didn't know the bullets were going to be fired. Again, I think if you rehearse that too much, the element of surprise goes. And it's the surprise you need to film. You know, it's the surprise is what are in the images. It's the look in the eyes, the unknowing, not knowing what is going to happen. So that was another surprise we dropped on the toes of the cast.
Advise him what to do with the Pharisees who from the safe distance of the pulpit have told lies, incited hatred, and encouraged the rifle squad to attack.
This scene again was imagined by Paul, but I think it's what I like about, again, in Paul's writing is that he imagines a scene, but it's absolutely true to the character. I mean, it's cheeky, it's impertinent, it's quite witty, but it's very sharp, and he actually confronts the priest in the confession box, takes him on his home turf, and typical of Paul and typical, I think, of Jimmy Gralton.
This is a sacrilege.
No, I'll tell you what the sacrilege is, Reverend Father. Having more hate in your heart than love.
Good night, Mary.
Can I ask you something, Father Seamus?
You can, of course.
Do you think Father Sheridan is his usual self?
Andrew Scott, who plays Father Seamus, is a terrific actor, I think, and we were very lucky that he came along and played it and again understood the background very clearly and presents the youthful face of the church. But I think it's, as we shall see later, he has the same strategic aims as Father Sheridan. He would just go about it in a different way. But he's just as tough, but more modern in his attitude, in how to deal with dissidents like Jimmy Gralton.
Ever we drop.
And I think here, you see, Father Sheridan, he spends his lifetime trying to stamp out jazz and dissidents, but in Quiet Moment, he can't help just being curious as to what the music is, really, and just trying to hear from himself, for himself. So, and for the life of him, he can't see what's wrong with it.
Quite remarkable, huh? Oh, Gralton came today. He had the nerve to leave these records outside in the porch. And he had the guts to face me in the confession. Do you know what he said? He said, "You have more hate in your heart than love." What do you make of that?
And the hall was burned down. I don't think any names were ever put to who'd done it, but it was quite clear that it was those who thought they were interpreting the priest's wishes, and then of course the priest washed their hands of it, but rather on the lines of Henry II, saying of Thomas a Becket, "Who will rid me of this troublesome priest?" And then lo and behold, when the Becket is murdered, Henry II claims to be shocked and innocent. It's a bit the same here. The priests stir up the hatred and then hold out their hands at the effects of it, rather like the right-wing press who attack immigrants day after day and then pretend to be shocked if there's any physical attacks on immigrants. When people came along to do this scene, they didn't know the hall had gone. So it was quite a shock to walk into the field, the boggy field, and find the whole thing in ruins, in charred embers.
Listen, what you've learned is in your heads forever. They can't destroy that.
Denise came back, the art teacher, Tess, she came back when she'd heard of it. Mossy was, I think, probably the most distressed of all.
Thank you.
These are the tactics of the Ku Klux Klan. No, thank you. Cowards just sneaking around in the middle of the night.
Strikes me they were keen to avoid loss of life. Thank you. Sláinte.
Sláinte.
To the business ahead.
So have they found the culprits yet?
Well, as you know, Father, Gralton had quite a few enemies in the locality.
Yeah, we had a lot of friends too, despite our best efforts. It's disgusting behaviour. What are we going to do next? We're going to burn down the cottage with the old woman inside. Make no mistake, it's a disaster for the community. And we'll all be the losers because of it.
It would be a tragedy if we turned him into a martyr. That would be a huge mistake.
It'd be a tragedy for a decent man to get shot in the back and lose his life. Mr. O'Keefe.
Is it Christ or Gralton? I think those are the words of several parish priests in this
I suspect if Christ was here today, there'd be several members of this parish who would have him crucified again. That's what I suspect.
Cut out the nonsense. I expect he'll scamper away sooner or later.
He's a bloody communist. They don't scamper like you lot. They might make a tactical retreat, but they'll fight to their last breath. Look what they're doing in Belfast. This is incredible. Read that. The Falls and Shankill unite, stirring up fraternity between poor Catholics and unemployed Protestants.
I'm not clear. Is that a good thing now, or is that a bad thing?
20,000 strikers. They even fought
what was going on in Belfast, of course, was very relevant here because there were struggles there that actually saw the loyalist and nationalist communities joining together, and that really upset those in power because a divided working class is weak, and that's why sectarianism has been fostered, to keep working people weak and divided. The Tom Mann that they refer to as famous trade union leader, famous in the struggle for the dockers' tanner in the dock strike of the end of the 19th century.
As an illegal alien.
Illegal alien? Have you been drinking, officer?
Watch your mouth.
An alien?
Sorry, Mrs. Gralton.
He was born in this house. He's my son.
He also holds an American passport, Mrs. Gralton.
Let me see that.
This this of course, again, is historically correct. Jimmy was deported, and the idea of someone being deported from as an alien from the land of their own birth is so bizarre and contradictory that you wonder people have the gall to do it, or the effrontery to even propose it. But nevertheless, that is what happened. And he was an alien, even though he was an Irishman. How bizarre.
Get up those stairs and watch that door.
Yes.
I've made some tea. You're welcome to tea.
Thanks, Mrs. Gralton.
Mrs. Gralton, I remember when I was a young fella, you used to bring books around our school.
What school was that?
Sacred Heart. That was the best part of the month. We all look forward to that. Treasure Island now was my favourite.
Robert Louis Stevenson. It was always very popular.
No, I always liked White Fang myself.
Talking of Fergus Clegg's work,
What's going on
the interior, the cottage was a shell.
The British.
No, it hadn't been lived in for many years, so the interior is Fergus's work and his team, and again they did a brilliant job. It feels as though it's been there. Well, it has. The structure's been there, but the interiors should feel absolutely true to the building.
Mr. Gralton, are you ready yet?
What's going on?
That door jammed.
Well, I'll break it down.
It's stuck. It's got a chair or something.
Put your back into it, man. It's only a small door.
He's gone! He's gone to the fucking thatch!
What do you mean he's gone?
Jimmy did, in fact, escape through the roof, and We don't know that Alice locked the police in. I'm afraid that's imagined, but Jimmy certainly escaped.
Shite! Smash it through! Come on. Please, Mrs. Gralton.
I don't know where I put it.
Come on, they'll have her guts for garters.
I can't help that.
Come on! Hurry up.
Get yourself through.
What's going on here? Breathing! What's going on here? The fucking door is locked! Where's the key?
Down her drawers. She's out the way. Get onto the roof.
Right.
You get after him, you gobshite. He's round the back. Get after him, would you? Get after him, for God's sake.
Will you put it out there?
I don't want you to pull out. What are you coming back to me for? You should be going after him.
So Jimmy was on the run for, I think, 5 or 6 months, and he was sheltered by friends. People who had supported him were arrested. It was just a crackdown, really. There was a massive campaign for him, and there were meetings and people lobbied, but there was... People were too afraid of the church, I think, and the problem was that Sinn Féin and the IRA were split. Some were afraid to go against the church, and it was really only the radical left that would support him, even though I think people must have been genuinely ashamed that he was treated the way he was. They knew the justice of his cause, but they chose to keep their heads down. A familiar pattern.
Tommy Gilroy. Stop there now. We're going to have a look around, okay?
That's fine. What are you looking for? What is it you're looking for?
In the hair, Tommy.
Oh, you Tommy? Sorry. Where's Gralton, Tommy? I don't know where Gralton is. Leave me here alone. You won't find him in there, whatever you do.
We'll have a wee look.
Sweeney, let me away up the
Take your
road.
time. What's your rush?
I have no rush on me. I'm just trying to get a man's job and just take me here home. I don't have James Gralton. Let me away up the road, Sweeney. I said it to you.
Jimmy got progressively weaker, and he was, of course, in a cold, damp, very damp climate, with no proper shelter, intermittent meals. He got weaker and weaker, and there was a suggestion that he was seriously in danger from the resulting ill health. Two people whose work I should mention are Lorraine Glynn and Lynn Johnson, who did the hair and the makeup between them. Again, like Fergus's work, you don't notice their work because it should feel just implicit to the time and to what we see. But they absolutely caught the mood of the way we wanted to make the film.
We started chanting fair play, so they gave in. Her hands were shaking holding her notes, but her voice was steady. You should have seen the look in her eye.
What can a mother say when about to lose a son? Part of me wants to scream again as in childbirth. And part of me wants to ask, what is his crime? Why is an old...
They're now talking about the campaign, the meetings up and down the country, the letters of protest that were sent, and how the letters were burned, and the appeals by friends and families, the speeches that were made, because the case was plainly unjust. That all to no effect. The realpolitik of the situation took over, and Jimmy was an embarrassment, or the political leaders at the time were embarrassed that there should be someone like Jimmy there, who was standing up for things that they had claimed to stand for in the past, and were now denying.
Just as important they burned them outside. All those meetings up and down the country. The truth is, your support is confined to the trade unions and usual friends. The IRA are even on the fence. They don't want to upset the church. And the deportation stance. Father Seamus came to see me. He fears it'll turn the youth against the church.
I prefer the Sheridans. When he sees the courage of his convictions.
He said he'd go over Sheridan's head to talk to the bishop. He'd even go to Dublin to try to make peace. If you promise not to build the hall again. And lived a quiet, private
I think
life.
this has been a current theme, that when the chips are down, when the struggle really needs to happen, and you need the strength of trade unions, you need the strength of an organised working class, the leaders go missing. And that was very much the case here. It's been the case time and time again. When the struggle is at its sharpest, then the leaders of what should be a strong working class movement go missing. They should have defended Jimmy Gralton. They chose not to.
Back to you, Rona. I wish with all my heart we had another life to live.
Jimmy, they've drafted in more soldiers. By the dozen. It's only a matter of time. God, this hurts so much. These are our last moments. I know it. I'm never going to see you again.
Nobody knows who, in the end, gave the information of where Jimmy was. There was a thought that it was someone who feared for his health in the end, and that he just wouldn't have survived many more months on the run. But it's not known, and so we left it a mystery.
Let's ladder up. Let's ladder up. Come on now. Out! Let's get out of here! Get out of my house! Get out of my house!
We're nearly done. Thanks. £3
The treatment of Jimmy Gralton here is exactly as it was in real life.
We don't confiscate it.
His opponents were only too eager to rub his nose in it. Even a basic humanitarian thing of seeing his mother, he wasn't allowed.
So how did you find me? Can I visit my mother to say goodbye?
Not a hope in hell.
She's frail. My last chance to see her.
I've strict orders to get you over here and before that riffraff come.
Where are you taking me?
You'll be going straight to Cork and then to Cove, where we have a ship waiting for you. You should have kept your big mouth shut, Gralton. You always had to be cock of the walk. Now you had this coming to you.
I can have a sheet of paper to write her a note.
Save your tears for the crossing, for the fine postal service from New York.
There he is.
The Gardaí here and throughout the film were played by real Gardaí from the area, and very good they were too.
The ship that's waiting for you is called the Britannic.
Please, show the man some respect. He has more courage and decency than all of you put together.
Now, we don't know that the kids for whom the hall was opened and who had such a great time in it, we don't know that they actually chased the truck that he was on, but we like to think they would. It's always difficult to know how to end a story when it's a story of a defeat and a loss. But you want to keep this. You feel we wanted to keep the spirit of Jimmy alive, the ideas he'd planted and the others had planted in the hall, and to keep it alive in the young people. So this seemed an appropriate way to end.
I will, and I'll send you back money for a party.
He'll send you nothing. Get that truck going. Spell up in the shower.
Don't forget us, Jimmy. You won't forget us, Jimmy.
They'll send you Norton. Get off the road. Get off the road. Get off the road. Get out. You don't deserve this, Jimmy.
Come on, Jimmy.
I wish in vain. I wish I had my heart again, and vainly think I'd not complain. It's good day to morning slán. Shoo, 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 la roo, shoo, go sucker.
Jimmy did get married right towards the end of his life, and he married a woman from the next town to his from County Leitrim. They were in New York, obviously, and so we just like to wonder whether it was someone that he'd known when he was in Ireland. May even have been someone like Una, who knows. One person I haven't mentioned is George Fenton, again, a long-time friend and comrade and collaborator. And George takes a long time to find a voice for the music in the film. And I think here, like as everywhere, George always finds the right colour for the music, which needs to be very underneath the film, not imposing itself, but at the end brings together lots of the different songs that were used in the film, song to music. So in the end, Jimmy was kicked out. The hall was burned down, but one hopes that the ideas that they stood for carried on, and that's often been the case for the left. That you have many defeats, but someone passes the baton on, and I guess it's down to us to keep the spirit of Jimmy Gralton alive and well.